sure everybody's microphone worked, and mine's not on. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending. Okay, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular Board of Education meeting of 10/28/2025. Patty? Anthony, all those in favor? Okay, that's everyone. Okay. Good evening, neighbors, friends, and families of West Babylon. On behalf of the Board of Education, I would like to extend our heartfelt condolences to the Dilemmo family for the loss of their son, Liam. They will remain in our thoughts and prayers, and I'm sure the same is true for our entire community. We also want to thank the school district staff for once again providing much-needed support to the students, their families, and all those who need it as we navigate this difficult time once again. It saddens us to think how the community and school district's response to such a tragedy has become all too familiar. It has become what feels like a routine response rather than an infrequent exercise of preparedness. Days such as these remind us of the past tragedies and how fragile we all are. And during these times, we may also find a moment to reflect on how important we all are to each other. Yet as we take stock of the loved ones around us and mourn our loss, in the spirit of what this community has shown, may we find comfort from those around us when we are in need and also extend it to those who need it most.
Good evening, everyone. No kind of easy transition from there. So I'll jump right to it. This week, we celebrate school psychologists. It is School Psychologist Recognition Week. We are fortunate to have a team of phenomenal psychologists who dedicate countless hours to supporting our students and their families. Their expertise, their compassion, and their commitment make a tremendous difference in the lives of those they serve every day. When you see our psychologists this week, please join me in thanking them for their hard work, their service, and their support of others. On Monday and yesterday, our students, staff, families, and neighbors came together at home or at different events to honor and thank the men and women who have served in the United States Armed Forces. Veterans Day is not simply another date on the calendar. It's a day of reflection, appreciation, and unity. We celebrate Veterans Day because we understand that the freedoms and opportunities that we enjoy each day are not by chance. They exist because of the courage, dedication, and selflessness of those who have served. Whether in times of war or peace, at home or abroad, our veterans have shown an unwavering commitment to something much greater than themselves. Here in WB, in West Babylon, Veterans Day also serves as a meaningful opportunity to teach not only about history, but gratitude. Right, the simple yet powerful acts of saying thank you. Across our schools, our teachers and our students and administrators found special ways to express their appreciation. Some classrooms invited veterans to receive pins and certificates. Some invited them for breakfast. Others created drawings, letters, or poems in their honor. Several schools hosted building-wide assemblies to recognize and celebrate our veterans. While district-wide, our PTA sponsored a contest encouraging students to reflect on what it means to honor our heroes. Our Board of Education and PTA will proudly recognize the winners of this contest at our next board meeting. So to all of our veterans throughout our community, please know that your service and sacrifice have left a lasting imprint on our hearts and within our community, and we thank you for your courage, your leadership, and your example. And to close my remarks for this evening, I would like to express my sincere and heartfelt gratitude on behalf of the entire West Babylon School District, in particular the West Babylon Senior High School, for the outpouring of support shown to our senior high school community. As we all know, as Mr. Paolo shared, last week our community experienced a profound loss. During that difficult time, the compassion and the unity displayed by so many made a tremendous difference. Whether it was sending a card, a letter, providing food or snacks, sharing a note of encouragement, or simply reaching out to check in, every act of kindness mattered. Thank you to our Board of Education and other community groups. Even Panera, right, our PTAs, the WBTA, leadership, the Administrators Association, countless parents, Joe's Italian Market, Eric's Italian Bistro, the Rosenberger family, and so many others. Your generosity and your care reminded us of the true strength of WB, a community that stands together, lifts one another up, and leads with empathy and heart. Thank you again for standing with us. And at this time, I would like to ask that we all please rise for a moment of silence in memory of Liam. Thank you. Please be seated. Okay. Then we have Grace.
Good evening, everyone. I apologize in advance. I'm not
It's okay.
good at talking when I'm emotional. This week I decided to take a pause on visiting schools to focus on what's important right now. In the high school, as a student body, we're devastated by the loss of our classmate, who was a friend to many, Liam. We appreciate the district's efforts to bring us comfort by bringing in social workers and having a day of support. It is important to us that this grief and the need for support is not forgotten. We have been through a lot in the past couple of years, and there would have been no way through these hard times without the community we have here in West Babylon, especially the teachers. The amazing teachers at the high school go above and beyond to show their students love and support always, but especially during times like these that we've seen all too many times. We must not forget the losses we have faced, and we must move forward stronger, both individually and as a West Babylon community.
Well said.
Back to you, Dr.
Where are we? Okay. All right. Okay. I would like to invite Mr. O'Leary up to the podium first. I'd like to take a moment to recognize truly remarkable examples of character, sportsmanship, and compassion within our student body. I'll share a recent race, and again, my colleagues will share more details, but several of our student athletes went above and beyond, right, for their fellow runner. Rather than focusing solely on their performance or themselves, they demonstrated empathy, teamwork, strength, heart, character, and the values that, again, we want all of our students to have. They naturally displayed that with courage. These actions remind us that true success isn't always measured by medals or finish times, but by integrity, by character, and by kindness. So at this point, I would like to invite our team up to the podium. Mr. O'Leary, you can kick us off and then introduce the rest of our leaders and speak on behalf of our students.
You said everything that I was going to say.
So your thunder.
Coach Armato and Coach Dahl can definitely tell the story much better than I can, but just personally, I find it incredibly impressive when individuals, especially young men and women, do not passively wait for others to make decisions, but they lead in what is definitely a high-stress environment and when things don't always go to plan. So with that, Coach Armato, Coach Dahl were there that day, so I think they can share the specifics.
Thank you to the board for inviting us and recognizing the gentleman to my left. I'd like to call everybody's attention to Nazir Hajar, Nate Olson, Chris Romano, and Joe Romano. And to give a little background on the story, it was our first cross-country meet of the season, and it was a pretty warm September day, and a teammate had fallen ill on course running, suffering from dehydration. Collapsed to the ground, fell unconscious. on the fall, landing forward, hitting the ground, suffered concussion, fractured maximal, and some broken teeth. Stopping mid-race, his teammates to our left, recognizing a fallen teammate, athlete, stopped everything and immediately sprung into action. At this point, they called for help, activated the emergency response 911 system, came to Nick Onkosa's aid, rolled him over face up, stayed with them until help arrived, providing first aid and care. As a dad, as a teacher, I could not be more proud of the calmness, level-headedness, thoughtfulness, consideration, and just true team spirit, seeing a fallen teammate in need of hand, and without a moment, just reacting and springing into action. So please, everybody in the audience, if you could right now recognize, please stand and give a congratulations to the gentleman here to my left. You gotta type that. You gotta type that. I knew you had it.
As Coach Stahl, he pointed out a lot of the details. Cross country this year, we kind of, we work as a team, boys and girls, and, you know, working together, you know, for the first 3 weeks of preseason, it was, you know, a very highly anticipated meet. And we were all excited about that first meet. I'll give you, you know, I'll try to abbreviate much of what was said, but, you know, it's moments like this where the story should be repeated a few times because it's sometimes necessary. During our first meet of the season at Belmont Lake State Park on September 9th, one of our cross-country athletes collapsed in the middle of the race, and in that moment, without hesitation, Nate, Nez, Chris, and Joey responded. They moved quickly, calmly, and instinctively to support their teammate when they needed it the most. At the same time, Coach Stahl, who's not going to sing any of his own praises, so I will, and he brings his nice little electric bike to every meet. Really came in handy that day because he raced to the park entrance to meet the ambulance. We were in an obscure spot. We were like in the middle of the lake where no car can really fit. And he, without hesitation, went to the park entrance and met the emergency responders. Parents, Good Samaritans, park staff, and the EMT all played a crucial role. And thanks to that collective effort, a frightening situation did not become any worse than it could have been. I'm fully convinced that if we had written this plan down, it would have not been operated as smoothly as it was that day. Their instinct, their compassion, their teamwork are a testament to who they are. And once you get to know these guys individually, this is a testament to their character and the values we strive to build here in West Babylon. And that's important to know in the past few days that we have. This is what West Babylon is all about. In a world where we hear often discouraging news, it's moments like this, small acts that carry enormous weight. It reminds us of the goodness in our students. What these boys did holds a big place in my heart, Coach Stahl's heart, but it's a true reflection of what West Babylon is all about. A true competitor always wants to finish the race. That's what their main goal is. But it takes the heart of a champion to stop and do the right thing. It's my hope that these young gentlemen continue to use that spirit and guide them through their life in the classroom and every day from here on forward. Tonight you know, we really appreciate you all taking the time out of your busy schedule to recognize these young men, and we couldn't be more proud. So congratulations, guys.
I can have Nathaniel. Thank you. Nazar. Oh, we're gonna take a picture, so don't go too far. You and me, Christopher.
Always more necessary.
Thank you. And Joyce. we all know this in this room because we know them very well, how they pour their heart and soul, right, into supporting their students, right? It goes well beyond coaching the skills, right, of cross country or track and field and the 25 hours on a Saturday, right, that you spend with our students. We know how much you support all of our students. And if anyone has been at any of the award ceremonies, the largest teams, right, half the room is cross country and track and field. So really, thank you to the two of you for supporting our students and guiding them as we go. So, group picture, let's show those plaques. And where's, thank you. Adam? Yes? All right. Another round of applause. By the way, these soar like an eagle plaques, right? For how many years now, Mr. Hanley? It was, I think, my first year as super. 10 years? 9 years? 10 years? We have been issuing it to staff members, faculty members, right, for soaring like an eagle and going above and beyond. This is the first time that we issue it to students. All right, so we are going to pivot to our presentation for tonight. I'm going to invite Mr. Payne up to the podium to walk us through our 2025 assessment results. As a reminder, every year we present on grade 12. Yes, you are welcome to stay, okay, if you want to excuse
I'll
yourself.
take a plaque.
We understand.
There's a vacuum.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, thank you. This is very typical of my presentations where everyone leaves, so it's all good. As Dr. Farrelly had mentioned, each year we have to present the, obviously, all of the state test scores. We try to go a little bit in depth and give a little more information, knowing how valuable all of our time is, but how important this is for the district. So I will do so now. I don't have a clicker, but my trusty assistant in the back will go through. I'm going to start off with the high school, with the June Regents results, and of course, we can hit it. I'll contradict myself and do January, because for the ELA, those of you that remember, we give the ELA Regents exam for all of our 11th grade students in January, so they have an opportunity in June to take it again for those few students that need to. So these are our rates. We go back about 8 years so that you can see a comparison. And I always remind people, you know, that essay at the bottom was that special appeal time during COVID. So there were allowances for students that didn't pass the Regents to still get credit. So you'll see those numbers up there for several more years. They're no longer obviously applicable. So when you see them up there, you can just ignore them. This year, same results. Statistically, I didn't put percentages. I'm decimals up there in the percentage, but it was within a few tenths of a % different in our results for the English passing rates. Social studies, similarly, it looks like I didn't do any work at all and just copied the same numbers, but they were the same for global. And then US, we saw a bit of a dip. We'll see this from time to time. Generally, what we look for is trends, going from 84, 90, 81. So that's what we kind of keep in mind. Now, mastery for any of the Regents exams is 85 or better. And for those of you that are familiar with the Regents exams, you know that an 85 is not an easy score to get on a Regents, because while they're scaled, those upper level questions where the 85 and above points are really awarded are much more difficult to get. It's not just the difference between maybe getting an 81 and an 86. It really takes quite a bit to get. So we always like to present to the Board of Education and the community our mastery results. You'll see English, Global, and US, obviously the results I just went through on passing, and you'll see the mastery results over there in 2025. We can hit it. This is the science Regents passing rate. So we do, obviously, like every other school, offer many science classes, living environment, chemistry, physics, and then earth science is given not just at the high school, but at the junior high school. For those of you that are aware, of course, with our accelerated program, we do 8th grade earth science, but also 9th grade then for students that don't take it in 8th grade. So you'll see earth science obviously broken up into 2 categories. One is the senior high school and the junior high school. 72, 62, 100, 62, and 76. You'll see some fluctuations there. I mean, overall, There's some gains there or some steady pieces, but it does fluctuate from year to year. And to really follow this along, we try to look for cohorts, right? Cohorts of kids that kind of move from grade to grade rather than each new grade coming in and taking the exam. This is the mastery results. Again, 85 or better. Living environment, earth science, both at the junior high school and senior high school, chemistry and physics. Math classes, same exact scenario. We're looking at the passing trends. Algebra at the senior high school was low this year. And you could see, even tracking back from years, it's lower than usual. We're still looking at that and trying to ascertain exactly why it might have been statistically 2 digits lower, in this case almost 20%. Junior high school remained the same. Geometry did go up, so kind of following that piece, and Algebra 2 about 84%. Mastery in math, again, because most of your accelerated students take algebra at the junior high school in 8th grade, we don't generally see a high mastery rate at the senior high school for algebra, so you'll see the 2% there. 60% almost at the junior high school, geometry, single digit, and algebra 2, 13% for mastery. And the FLAX exams going through, these are the exams that are given for the foreign language, 59% for Italian and 78% at Spanish. These are our AP results, and I know this is difficult to see, but the bottom line, this is a chart that talks about for your AP exams, levels 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Anything above, you'll see in a moment, level 3, it generally starts to be accepted as college credits, dependent on the school and dependent on the programs. So we want many kids taking this exam, but we also want our kids getting above a level 3, a level 4, and a level 5 is extraordinarily difficult to get. So you'll see quickly there, from year to year, the high school is doing a phenomenal job at not only getting kids to take these exams, but an increased percentage of kids getting level 3 or above, which you'll see in just a moment. So there's that level 3, like I was talking about, in that light blue area, the number of kids taking those particular exams, and the number of kids getting level 3, level 4, or level 5. And that last one, level 3 or above, is that level of proficiency for each of the AP exams. So going through each of the years, we could see that we've been slowly increasing. We'll hit the slide. And then gives you 2025. You'll see the graph, 76% from around 70 is that, I know you can't read it, but that's the graph there. And the number of kids taking the test itself is on the bottom. Increased number of students. So that's our high school program with a tiny bit of junior high school built in for those accelerated classes. Now I'll do the 3-8 assessment results. This is the English and math exams for grades 3 through 8. We're going to start on the elementary level, and each year we give you this data. Obviously, we're still including Forest Avenue because this is last year's results, right? We're always a year behind when it comes to the assessment data. Next year, this will be a little shorter. But in the light blue there, like we do each year, we have the district average. All of our district averages, I think in almost in every single exam, has gone up as a district average in general. The distribution of exams you'll see has changed, but I have included the 2024 results so the Board of Ed could see that, along with the top left, which is the 2025 results, which is what we're talking about right now. And for those of you that don't remember, this is another great acronym. TTT, anyone remember, stands for Total Taking the Test. The state of New York, and we've been very closely monitoring this, would expect 95% of our kids to take the test for every exam. We are not there yet, but I am very proud to say that we have slowly been increasing each year. I think on average this year we're close to 60 some odd percent taking the test. Years ago, for those of you that remember, it was well below 50%. I would say even in the 30s in some places. So we're slowly changing that. Actually, if you can go back, I'm sorry. So this is the ELA grade 3. You'll see the distribution, South Bay, Sanapog, JFK, the district average, Tucker Forest. And those numbers to the right there, 2025 level 3 and 4, similar to like when I was talking about the AP exam, where at level 3, level 4, level 5 is considered proficient. On the New York State assessments for grades 3 through 8, level 3 and 4 are considered proficient. So there's 4 levels, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 and 2 are not proficient, 3 and 4 are. So these are our percentages as a district of proficiency in each of the buildings for ELA grade 3. Similar slide, grade 4, right? Unless, if you didn't notice, you'd think it was the same one, pretty close. Similar distribution, district average, last year's district average, and then this year's about 10% difference, and then the distribution of students in each of the buildings. Grade 5, for the obviously for the K-5, this is the last ELA exam they'll take before they go to the junior high school. Another significant jump in the average of the district, and then the distributions are played out there. We'll switch to math. Exactly the same scenario, grades 3, 4, and 5. You'll see a slight increase in the district average from year to year, and distribution of schools was a little different on this exam as far as the last year to this year, the different schools. And again, if we want to look at this data, and we generally, it gets caught up, but you really want to look at cohorts of kids. So the 3rd grade going to the 4th grade, going to the 5th grade, you want to kind of do a diagonal look at how they're doing. This is helpful. It gives us a snapshot of what's going on. But to really delve into it, we want to kind of track kids as they go up in grades. Grade 4, similar piece. You'll see a slight increase, a distribution of schools at proficiency. And then grade 5, again, you'll see a similar increase as a district. And then you'll see the distribution. Okay. So now we're going to, I keep forgetting, every time I raise my hand, don't do it. The slide changes, so I got to be careful. All right, so now we'll go to the junior high school. It's easier to project the junior high school, right? All of the kids in the district are in these grades, so we kind of give you more grades like we do for the high school. So you can go back to 2020-21 and see our performance in each of these exams. These are obviously all the ELA exams in grades 6, 7, and 8. So you can go down and see some changes, some nice progressions in grade 6. Grade 7 ELA, a little bit higher, and grade 8 ELA, some significant changes as you go through those numbers. And I'll come back to these, but I'll switch. Similarly for math, you'll see grade 6, tiny increase, a little dip in grade 7, but they were already pretty good. And grade 8 math is always an interesting one. If you're looking at that total taking the test, you'll notice, of course, those grade 8 numbers each year. I tell you the number is much lower because of our accelerated program students. They do not have to take the grade 8 assessment. So the eighth grade test is kind of hard to quantify because there's so few kids taking compared to the other grades. And our science test. So we do 5th and 8th. I put these all together because this is a singular test in each of the elementary buildings and then one test at the junior high school. They changed the grade from 4th to 5th grade a few years ago, but essentially it's a similar test, so it's really a reflection of the entire buildings. So I put them all together, and you can see our average there, about 50% at proficiency, and then the buildings that are above and the buildings that are below. And that's it. Any questions?
Yeah, just.
Of course.
When you looked at the trends with the Regents exams.
Right.
And you said you had to look further as to why there was those.
That one algebra, I think the algebra was a big one.
Yeah, but so if you're looking at a cohort and you're following a cohort, what is it? Like, I guess, how do you react to the trends you're seeing? If the cohort's moving, how do you know that the changes you make at the level they were at are going to positively impact the cohort coming in?
You don't. I mean, I'll be honest with you. You can make guesses, and you know, it's like betting on a horse race. You're going to try to follow trends and do the best you can. If you see there's areas of deficiency and you know that group has experienced weaknesses in, let's say, computation of fractions, you can hope that that'll show up and those corresponding skills will, but you're still taking a chance. So you do your best you can just to cover the curriculum and prepare the students for the entire curriculum as opposed to kind of fine-tuning it for that particular cohort.
Now, in reference to the state assessments, I think at one point we had like a 70% opt-out rate. Obviously, we have less people opting out. How is that impacting the results of those?
So that's a tricky one, too, because it depends on which kids are opting out. So the more kids that take it, we know then less kids are opting out. But when 30% were taking it, if for argument's sake, I'm just throwing it out there, all of your high performers opted out, you would see a huge difference, right? Because so few kids are taking it. Now, with more kids taking it, we really don't get in and say who isn't, but I feel we're getting more reliable data with the more kids that take it. So I'm going to just answer you generically. When you have 60% of the kids taking it, you're saying the 40 that didn't probably are reflected in the entire population. When you have 70% that don't take it, there is a potential there for a concentration in one particular area.
Right, and you're making decisions based off of a smaller group, which I get. I guess in the end result, it's a lot of work in tracking and numbers, and we're following trends, but the trend doesn't exist in the future. You know, you can, and for every deviation in when a test is given, even I think if you go to the state website, it'll say, you know, disregard everything prior to this year because how are we making, or how are we reacting to any of this?
The real value in this is the individual student performance, which we're able to drill down to on a building level, and sometimes the individual teacher performance. which we don't do at the district level. But in my opinion, the real value is when you start to break down a class of students and see how they did.
Yeah.
In particular, then you could start to look for particular skills or standards where they might have missed particular points where the rest of the district got it. And I think that's, Mr. Palillo, where the value is, because then you can drill down and say what happened here, and then specifically we can fix that or at least try to work on it. Okay. But on a district level, it really doesn't do you too much good as a board to look at all this data unless you're able to predict exactly, like we said, what's going on that got us there.
So besides examining the cohort, so let's say there's a Regents exam and the COVID years, take those out, but let's say, it was 90-something%, and then we get down to the mid-80s
Right.
in those results. Besides examining the cohort, what examination is given to that specific, I guess, department or?
Yeah, so
how do we know?
The Regents is a little different because we can look at particular areas of the Regents, and it could still be skill-based or even topic-based. When you get to the grades 3-8, it's more criterion-based, so it's hard to pinpoint it down, although I will speak to that in just a moment. So what we're doing with the algebra and specifically is to look at why did you see, what 20% of the kids kind of decreased compared to the year before. Obviously not the same kids, but those groups of kids like you were talking about. And then what could have gone differently that would have caused that? Now, it could have been, I'm going to be ridiculous, right? None of them had breakfast that morning. Like, we'll never be able to fix that.
Right.
But maybe it is something that happened in the classroom. Maybe we took more time to teach something. It didn't pay off, but we lost something somewhere else. Right. And that pivot piece always happens each year in the Regents classes. It's unusual to see that big of a difference. With the grades 3 through 8, I do think there are particular areas we've done a good job with, which is kind of our what I call two-step questions, right? Our extended response questions, where students have to calculate something and use those calculations then to come up with an answer. And as a district, we've been working hard at trying to get points there because we've noticed in the past West Babylon has not scored as many points in those areas. So I'm guessing when I say this, but I think a lot of the gains that you just saw for that 3-8 has been the work that teachers and administrators have done on increasing our students' performance on those more difficult questions.
Right.
But I'm just guessing. Like I'm just guessing.
Yeah. Is there, and I don't even know if you can measure this, I see the retirements, a lot of people retiring. When you have teacher turnover, does that affect, or can you even identify that?
Yeah,
lesson plans change.
Probably individually, but not collectively. Like you probably look at one teacher and say, "Oh, that teacher would have made a difference," but collectively, I don't know you could.
Right. I just think a different approach. It can impact positively. It can
impact
negatively.
Could go either way.
The results. Yeah. No, absolutely. I'm just curious as to, is there a way to examine or drill down into what's being effective in one class versus another? Or
right. We definitely do that, and that's where I said the effective work is being done at the building at the teacher level. Right. But again, it becomes that give and take, because sometimes you spend more time on something and you wind up giving which you didn't realize you were going to. So you think you're going to be phenomenally successful, but inadvertently you left something out because you spent more time on this, and it becomes kind of a juggling act. So, we're constantly just trying to get to the entire curriculum, all of the standards, while addressing, and Dr. Farrelly knows this, the more difficult questions. That's one of the things we're doing as a district. I think this year, but even in the past years, exposing our kids to more difficult questions in the classroom will then give them some ability as they see it in the real world or even on these tests to kind of prepare for it.
Right. Is there a part of you that, knows the future of Regents in New York State, that eventually you'll be showing us a graph with only year one?
No, I don't. I think they'll always be Regents.
To some extent. Yeah.
They're not going to be worth anything, I think, in the future.
Right.
So not the same, at least.
Right.
They're still good. Honestly, and I've taught Regents. When I taught, they're good tests. They really are. But they're singular in their purpose, so there's a limited use to them.
Right.
So. All right.
Good.
I'd just like to ask, what does the administration? How do they feel about these results?
At which level? I think the elementary principals are very happy. I mean, if you look there and you'll see there are some buildings that there needs to be some growth, right? And the redistribution is going to change some of that. So the individual elementary principals are very excited with the results, but they know with the influx of new students in their building, they're going to see some changes. I think it's a good question on the secondary level. We're working differently with each of them to try to target the growth. In some areas, they're static. I mean, I'll be honest, the high school AP exam, you should all be very happy with. Some of the areas, though, there's growth. That's
what I'm saying.
Yeah,
the
100%.
AP area is, very happy.
Right.
That's what we would expect from AP students.
Right.
But some of these other areas, to me, look like, what's like at the elementary level? Is it this Common Core? I mean, teaching has changed so dramatically over the last 15 years. We keep putting more and more resources in, and
Some of it, I'm going to say, and again, this is me just speaking, and you guys can ask me to leave, I will. I think some of it's just hard work for kids, right? That's not something that's in the curriculum. That's not a standard. That's something we have to keep pushing our kids on. And if we don't, sometimes it translates into some of these test scores results. So some of it's just grit.
Could it be a lack of the reinforcement at home with homework and
Yep.
know, other things
It could
that
be, yeah.
changed in the way we educate our students?
Right, just perseverance. If you think about it, it's a 3-hour test, right? They usually, sometimes some of them leave after an hour, whatever, the minimum is an hour and 20, an hour and 30. That idea of let's go back and check my answers, I still have an hour and a half, that's something that can't be necessarily easily taught in the classroom. I mean, it can be taught, but it's not your average lesson or your lesson objective. It's that grit and that perseverance and that care. How am I performing here? And, I think it's a mixture of everything, but I think to some extent that's what schools probably right now, at least our school, we need to get back to.
And the format of the exams has changed for some of them, correct?
They have, and I think for the better. The timeness of the tests, particularly the grades 3-8, the numbers of questions, they've decreased them. So in the past, it used to be a race, and when I was principal, it was a race to take those tests. It's no longer a race. They have unlimited time. They could, it's just a matter of how much effort they want to put in and how long they want to spend doing it. So yeah, they've changed significantly, but I think in a lot of ways for the better. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was just going to add to that takes the teachers learning how to teach to that test then, right? Like they have to, if there's questions are formatted differently, they're going to have a little bit of a learning curve of how to teach to that test, or do you not come
I
into
think
contact
for
with that
the
as much?
well, for the 3-8, I don't think that's as much of a factor.
But in the
Definitely for the Regents, it's a huge transition for them when that
Yeah.
changes, and several of our exams have. The geometry, different exams have changed.
Yeah, and I know that like the state percentages that are released, it takes a little time. So like your normative data, when comparing to the state, it's not as though we're performing below the state average in these areas, but
Right.
we have seen our own decrease, which might be due to those other variables like changing in testing or post-COVID or whatever
Sure,
else we
yeah.
want to kind of include in there. So I think when you look at it just in the last 3 years, there have been decreases statewide that would not necessarily be just things that we're doing as well, correct?
Yeah.
Or
100%. And I think to what Mr. Pilillo was saying and what you were talking about, the secret in education is trying to find out what those things are. And I'd love to say that we're good at that, but it's still a people game, and sometimes you're guessing at it. I think we try to be pretty good at that, but if we miss it, we miss it. And whether it's hard work, perseverance, the individual teachers, what they're doing that particular year, we focus too much on this type of thing. It just didn't show up. There is a little bit of chance there too. So it becomes just a matter of trying to give our kids the best possible education and for them to be able to flex and pivot on these tests, which honestly is I'm not going to say a new thing, but we're getting better and better at it, but we lost some of that a few years ago. So we'll get there.
Yeah, I think another piece, right, intertwined, whether we're looking at elementary, junior high school, or senior high school, we've had a lot of conversations about our own classroom exams, right, and taking a look at the types of questions, right, that our students are accustomed to, right, and taking a look at the depth of knowledge there, right, and the depth of the actual question. Are we asking only recall questions, right, or are we asking students to really, apply and think deeper, right, in those pieces, and that's not easy, right, and that's certainly not easy, but it is something that kind of from a K-12 perspective, right, I have to, acknowledge again Mr. Payne and our administrators and our teachers, right, because that's very much a part of our discussions, right, in whatever subject area we're looking at is how deeply are we diving into this and how much, and again, it's not like, students don't particularly maybe want to be pushed as much, right, in terms of those questions. But those questions that Mr. Payne was referring to, those higher level, questions that have more of a weight to them, right, speaking of in terms of the AP or whatnot, that's the case across these assessments as well, right? What are students accustomed to in a classroom from a classroom teacher in terms of their exam? How deeply are we diving into the material, right? Is it mainly recall, right? Is it mainly kind of those first 3 steps, or are we taking it a little deeper? So working on that, right, getting our students to kind of stretch in that manner is also part of that process as well.
And I will say thank you, Dr. Farrelly, because you hit the nail on the head with that. One of the things we did at this last conference day is to tell teachers specifically, right, let's give those questions. And why don't we give those questions? Because kids are going to get them wrong and their test scores are going to fall. Well, honestly, who cares about test scores, right? As long as they're getting those questions and we know how they're performing. So one of the things we told the teachers recently was give those questions, make them count less, right? I know that may sound opposite to what we're doing here, but if we can get kids exposed to it and see how they're performing, I'd rather them give those questions and be afraid to, and then us see how they did. So it's one of the things we're going to try this year. We're going to give more of those questions on tests, but they might not be worth as much. And the state does this too, by the way. For those of you that know, they'll say it's a field test question afterward, and you'll be like, oh, okay, well, they don't count it. But I think the idea for us, and exactly what we're saying, is let's take the fear away of giving those questions and just not shy away from them, but still have the kids perform on them. So, all right.
Thank you, Mr. Payne.
He always gets the tough
He does,
presentation.
he does, he does.
He cleared out a room. Even the educators left.
When I taught, they used to have it, but then the kids
No, thank you very much. Okay. The next, statement of residents on agenda items only. Residents wishing to share a statement. Residents, please come to the podium, state their name, address, and any organization they represent. They should also write this information on an index card and give it to the Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Operations. Comments about individual students or employees are not permitted. Each resident will have up to 3 minutes to speak with a total of 15 minutes allotted. Responses will be given after all statements, and questions needing further research will be addressed at the next meeting. Okay, next, approval of the consent agenda. We need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Kathy, Steve, all those in favor? Okay. No policy review. Old business? New business? Okay. Statement of residents. Residents wishing to share a statement, please come to the podium, state their name and address, and any organization they may represent. They can also write this information on an index card and give it to the Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Operations. Comments about individual students or employees are not permitted. Each resident will have up to 3 minutes to speak, with a total of 15 minutes allotted. Responses will be given after all statements. Questions needing further research will be addressed at the next meeting. Okay. Okay, need a motion to adjourn. Frank? John? All those in favor? Okay, that is it.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank
Good
you.
night.